All right, welcome back to Sunrise Daily. Quite a lot is happening, but we'll bring you some more information about adoption of some candidates. But at the moment, we understand that Citizens Forum, convener there is Professor Wale Soyinka. They've adopted Kingsley Moghalu as their candidate, but we'll give you more information on that as we progress, perhaps in just a moment. But at the moment, we do have Reverend Ladi Thompson here with us. He's a strategic security thinker. Thank you for coming on this morning. Good to see you again.
Pleasure is always mine.
It turns out that before each of our general elections in recent history, you always have one challenge about security or the other, and this one is not any different. Now, we've had some police commissioners that have been redeployed. Some politicians are complaining about it. There are several reports from Crisis International, crisis groups, highlighting they think 6 states, maybe 7 states to watch as a result of what they've seen previously and recently. But you've been looking into this consistently, keeping an eye on this particular matter. What kind of concerns, if any, do you have?
Well, if you ask me, I will take cue from what the Minister for Defense said after the meeting I think the service chiefs had with the president. He brilliantly outlined and talked about election violence, but also, for once, also spoke about post-election violence. And if you remember something very well, the INEC chairman this year said something that we need to design a totally new architecture of security for this year's election. And I think he was spot on. This year is different from every other year, completely. And if at all there was an omission, like I said, the Minister for Defense, his spokesman, spoke out about the election violence, spoke out the fears of post-election violence, talking about ethno-religious stirrings, and the fact that this time around we have irredentists who have been excited in the country. We have the Shiites, who also are seeking opportunity, and we have enough disgruntled groups within the nation. But the major challenge I think we're overlooking, that actually would be the game changer that Nigeria needs to consider right now, is the fact that there's been a silence from one of the most virulent groups that has been seeking to destroy Nigeria. All of a sudden, there's been a hiatus.
Would that be Boko Haram?
No, not the Boko Haram now. Not the Boko Haram. It would be what we call the headsman, what has been termed the headsman crisis. There's been a hiatus for a few weeks right now, and if anybody's thinking strategically, we need to realize that it's a strategic silence. So beyond the ethno-religious fears, the country has also got to reckon with the fact that if these people come back online after their strategic silence, it's probably going to be as worse than ever before. So this time around, I think Nigeria needs to think ahead clearly, because it's all related to the elections that we have.
Okay. Initially, you say this particular election is different from the other ones. How so?
Well, this is it. Nigeria is like a patient. The peculiarity about this time around is this. If we want to be honest with ourselves, Nigeria is like a patient suffering from a sickness that has not been diagnosed locally, although the Minister for Information came close to it recently. And that sickness has 4 stages. Nigeria is at the 3rd stage. When the minister spoke, he spoke about how they had degraded the Boko Haram, but that now, what we're looking at now is the Islamic State for West Africa. That's the threat we're now looking at. Well, Nigeria has been in denial for almost 20-something years. This has been in the offing from the 1990s. And what has happened is this. The Nigerian healthcare system has some sicknesses and diseases. If you remember the days of radiculopathy, the Nigerian healthcare system cannot handle, diagnose, or treat certain things. That same thing is also have been available in our security sector. We are facing a threat that the Minister for Information spoke about. This peculiar threat When it starts, first of all, people recoil with horror. There's indignation. There's some degree of resistance. At the second stage, you find that there will be some degree of acceptance. People become a bit more accommodating out of shock. People become petrified. The fear now begins to work. At the third stage where Nigeria is right now, the country has been bleeding. Now this third stage is a stage where people resign. It's a third stage where the average citizen cowardice sets in. And practically the wheel of the country has been broken. I think that we will do ourselves a favor in Nigeria if we sort these things out. And there's a special provision for this vis-a-vis the election and post-election. And I'll tell you why. There's something that the federal government is doing that has given room for a lot of conspiracy theories. I'm not very happy that there are many conspiracy theories flying around the whole place that need not be. And they're worsening the tension. It's very hidden tension. But for this election, there's a tension underneath there. There's so much distrust. I'll give you, for good example, there are those who believe, rightly or wrongly, that the architecture of security for the country itself is skewed. Talking about the National Security Council and the National Defense Council. Now, whether it is justified or not, we need to take out time to disabuse the mind of the nation. Now, let me seize this opportunity to do that quickly. One of the major stories making rounds today in Nigeria is this so-called Fulani conspiracy, that they want to take over the whole of Nigeria and blah, 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 blah. Let me say this quickly. Nigerians, let's come to our sense so we can build trust. Number one,
what has President Buhari done?
The nation that has the maximum number of Fulani is Guinea, 40%. They have never produced a president in Guinea before. There are 4 other nations that have Fulani inclusion in their presidency. 3, I think, as presidents, 1 as vice president. We're looking at Nigeria, Senegal, Gambia, and I think Sierra Leone or so. None of those countries is being overrun by the Fulani. What my challenge is that too late, Nigeria will realize all of a sudden that all along, the problem that we are having that is watching our elections, which is the greatest threat that we are not reckoning with right now, is a shapeshifter, it's a hydra, and like the Minister for Information has finally just admitted recently, it's a global affair, powered with the global media, powered with a global diplomacy behind it, and it is actually more dangerous because it is opportunistic. Now, if we can get the Nigerians to realize that we can trust, look, like I pointed out, the Fulani is a cover, just as the religious Boko Haram is also a cover. Underneath it, there is something that can switch on an Almajiri uprising within 3 weeks.
What would that be?
No, this same thing I'm talking about. It's a global hydra. It's a global resurgence, a new type of war that has been recognized in every nation of the world. ISIS, that is being contended for right now, if the President of America makes his threat, his proclamation true, and shuts down America from those fronts in the next 2-3 weeks, and it coincides with the end of our election, the movement of troops that has already started in certain northern states that we're seeing, the people of lighter color and all that, if an increase comes, the Nigerian army, the Nigerian police force, look at our total strength, look at these people and look at how intelligent they are. So we must get rid of this Fulani theory, we must get rid of this religious theory, and we must face facts clearly that the ISWAD, the Islamic State for West Africa, definitely is a reality. It's a new kind of war. It is watching our election. And I have not yet heard about any security plan, because this puts everybody at risk.
Yeah, but what does INEC chairman mean when you refer to them as saying that they want a new security architecture?
I'm sure that he has a lot of inside information, obviously. He knows that there's quite a number of places where the guarantee of the lives and the security of those who are to vote within the country is yet to be assured properly. He's also probably aware that this is the first time when, like I said, the irredentists, so many calls for people who are trying to dismember the nation, are there in different, if you look at the 6 states that have been outlined as the states where there's going to be the most problems, some of them, the ghost of the irredentism is what is actually there. There's a disgruntlement, and there has been a move to balkanize as well, the country that did not succeed. Now, if he looks at all that is around him and he realizes that, look, we're not just dealing with what we inherited from our colonial fathers was the normal election violence is a part of the Nigerian narrative.
So it wasn't laced with some of what we've seen today.
Yes, it wasn't laced. This complication is what we must take care of first.